So GameStop has just updated its investment policy to include Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset, becoming the latest and arguably the most visible public company to recognize that Bitcoin isn't just a hedge, it's a balance sheet imperative. And this wasn't a headline grab, and it definitely wasn't a vague half-measured nod to crypto. It was a board-level decision, unanimously approved and disclosed in their latest 10K, which I've gone through and I'm going to talk about now. So GameStop, according to its 10K filing, has the authority to allocate a portion of its $4.774 billion in cash equivalents, and marketable securities into Bitcoin, along with, and this is a huge note, the proceeds from any future debt or equity raises, which of course is the MicroStrategy, now strategy. And importantly, there's no cap on how much they can accumulate. There's no maximum, no limit, no pretense, just policy. Now, for context here, and I'll show you this chart, when MicroStrategy began buying Bitcoin in 2020, it was a $1.3 billion company with a fading core business and basically no roadmap. That move looked radical at the time, and Michael Saylor was treated like a madman. Now, GameStop, who's made a very similar move, is 10 times larger with a $13 billion market cap. And of course, it added about $1.3 billion overnight to its market cap when it made this announcement, and GameStop's prices jumped from something like $25.50 to $28.75. And it's doing so at a moment when the environment is completely different. But very similar to MicroStrategy, it has a fading core business and little to no roadmap. Of course, GameStop has struggled in recent years with the rise of digital video game sales over actual physical brick and mortar retailers. GameStop has attempted to make a pivot to selling things like toys, but that has proved relatively unfruitful. And now adding Bitcoin is the charge that it needs to its balance sheet, which is a very similar move to what MicroStrategy made back in the day, 5 years ago. But back then, corporate Bitcoin adoption was unprecedented, whereas today it's becoming expected. And that shift in expectations is accelerating quickly, especially after the US government formally established a strategic Bitcoin reserve just 10 days ago. So that single policy decision from the United States didn't just shift the Overton window, it completely shattered it. Of course, that's not necessarily the expression, but you understand what I'm getting at. Once the largest economy on earth made it official that Bitcoin was worth accumulating, it gave every public company, not just in the States, but globally, that was on the sidelines the political and reputational cover they needed to follow suit. And GameStop is one of the first to act in this new paradigm, but they won't be the last. And make no mistake, this is bigger than it looks. If GameStop decides to follow the MicroStrategy playbook, which is tapping public capital markets, issuing debt or equity, and rotating that capital into Bitcoin, it has the potential to become one of the most aggressive corporate accumulators that we've seen yet. And we already know the impact that one company can have. Last year alone, according to JP Morgan, MicroStrategy accounted for 28% of all inflows into crypto, $22 billion out of the $78 billion that happened in 2024, according to JP Morgan. Now, that was just a fraction of the capital base and institutional footprint that GameStop currently has. And now the companies are no longer seen as reckless for making this move, the floodgates are open. The narrative has totally changed. Holding excess cash is no longer neutral, it is a liability. Fiat is melting in real time, and companies are starting to realize that sitting in treasuries or short-term debt is just a slower form of loss. But Bitcoin fixes that. It provides purchasing power preservation in a way that no other asset can. And now that sovereigns and corporates alike are waking up to that, the demand side of this market is about to get a lot more aggressive. This next phase of corporate Bitcoin adoption won't look like the last one. It won't be just fintech firms and software CEOs with Twitter accounts. It'll be commodity producers, retailers, energy companies, and now, of course, the largest player in the physical retail gaming space. Any business with cash on hand and a responsibility to preserve shareholder value. GameStop is proof that this thesis is playing out. And this time, it won't be one or two companies dragging everyone else into the future. It'll be dozens, all acting independently, but driven by the same macro truth. And that's that Bitcoin is the most asymmetric reserve asset available today. And the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets. If you're still holding your Bitcoin on an exchange, waiting for some kind of signal to take custody, this is it. Because while you hesitate, public companies are figuring it out, and they have a much bigger budget than you do. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you really enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate you sharing it and liking it so more people can see it and see the videos that I put out almost every day. I got over a bit of a cold. You could probably tell in my voice in the last week. So I wasn't making videos, but now I am back on the horse to be making videos for you all. And of course, check out Theia, the world's simplest Bitcoin self-custody solution. Check it out at theia.us, spelled Theya, or you can scan the QR code right there. It'll take you to the website. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.